So I'm out with Andy and Colin again, and we've just been chatting about times of old, reminiscing about the 60s and 70s back there over a pot of steam at Howstein Gorge. Can't beat it. The things that you remember when you're in a three-way conversation that you would never otherwise remember in isolation. It's great for the old grey matter. I was just remembering the first pint of beer I ever bought. Cost me 27 pence. 27 pence for a pint of Tetley's. When I was underage anyway, I think I was 16. Because I was in the sixth form at school, was studying physics, chemistry and biology with the intention of going to Leeds Medical School to study medicine, become a doctor, and I didn't get the grades. Other things came along to distract me from my studies. But I don't know about you, but one thing that we could do by the time we got to the upper sixth form, not so much the lower sixth, but the upper sixth, was the teachers were more sort of friends and colleagues than they were teachers. A lot of them were happy to be called by the first name by upper sixth formers, and one or two of them used to drink beer with us. And yeah, so I remember first pint, 27 pence. And I think the first gallon of petrol, gallon, not litre, that I purchased, I think that were also, well, probably a little bit more, probably about 35 pence. I seem to remember 35 pence a gallon for some particular reason in my old Ford Cortina Mark III. It's a pheasant. Go on, off you go. Bit grey and overcast today, but dry. So had to be done. Sometimes, in the interests of your sanity, you have to force yourself to go out for a ride. And once you're out on two wheels in these beautiful parts, you've no regrets. I've got to do it. Hey, somebody accused me the other day of being miserable. Yeah. I don't think I'm miserable. Just because I am wont upon occasion to describe the world as I see it, don't make me miserable. It just makes the world miserable. I can only describe what I see, and if what I see is miserable, then I can only describe it thus, in the interests of being honest and authentic. It don't mean to say that I'm miserable, far from it. I've just been having some right belly laughs back there. So I hope the channel content doesn't come across as being generally miserable. there's one or two of you out there saying prefer it if you stick to the bikers stuff, bike orientated material content, but equally a lot of people saying I like the social commentary as well, so you know, I try and strike a balance for you. The thing is, if we are to just play the numbers game, if I do a video that's got a lot of social commentary in it, it does far better, it performs far better than the videos that I put out that are purely motorcycle related. And that's why I mix and match the two. I try and do both. I try and make sure that most of the videos I upload, if they do contain a bit of social commentary, also contain a lot of beautiful ride outs like this, with me keeping my fat mouth shut so that you can sit back and enjoy. And please feel free to skip one or the other to enjoy the one that you want to enjoy, if you don't want to see both. That's the general idea anyway. So I'm out and about today on this beautiful Royal Enfield Classic 650. About 2,500 miles on this bike now. It's been absolutely fine, touch wood. And I can just go into the garage and just look at this bike, and it makes me feel good. I think of all the Royal Enfield bikes, to my mind, and of course it's very much a personal interpretation, but to my mind this most authentically evokes notions of British classic motorcycles of the 50s and 60s. To me, this bike's got the 1960s DNA writ large in its design. And if you're into your modern classics, but you don't have the budget for a Triumph Bonneville or similar, look no further at these than at these at around about the £7,000 mark on the road. It's a bit taters today. We're not quite in heated clothing territory, but not far off. I am invested in all that expensive Kai's stuff and other premium makes of heated clothing. So the heated vest that I've got is a 50 quid Amazon special. But if you inadvertently turn it onto the wrong setting, it's a right nipple fryer, that one. Hey, tits on fire job. And then you're fumbling around while you're riding, trying to turn the bugger down. Look at that there, look at that there bird, look at that. Whoa! That's a bird of prey of some description, and it's not a red kite. Anybody know what that was? Please let me know. Looks a bit owl-like from the back, but yeah, that was impressive. Oh, things you see when you're out and about. Of course, back in the day, when when not only was there no heated clothing back in the 60s and 70s, but of course back then the winters were by and large a lot more punishing than they are today. And to boot, a lot more people had motorcycles as their only means of transport, of commuting to work the year round. So a bit of a triple whammy going on. No heated clothing, and in fact generally clothing that was pretty old school, not that warm, harsh winters, and having to use your bike to get to work. Of course we were all a lot more hardy back then, weren't we? Another thing you get when you're out riding at this time of the year is a sniffly nose. Dear me, excuse me. Well, Leighton Reservoir's looking a little bit fuller now than it was. Dear me. Now if all goes to plan, bloody hell, start again. Another pheasant. Thank you. If all goes to plan, there should soon be a voiceover video that I'm looking to do. Obviously it'll be another beautiful scenic ride out, but the voiceover will be about what it was like for me working the night shift in Bradford city centre back in the early 1980s. As a copper on the beat in the lonely, small, dark hours. And it might just surprise you what that was really like. In many ways it seems every bit like the 40 years ago that it is. And in other ways, it just seems like yesterday. Pheasant number 3. Yeah, but I have fond memories of those formative years. My first 10 years of service were learning street craft, a lot of the time on foot, sometimes in a police car or a police transit van, public order patrols and that in the city centre, but a lot of the time on foot. And when I just got my first decade in, that's when I moved over to traffic, road traffic in another part of the city, before I started climbing the greasy pole. My words, there's a lot of game about. Now the Leeds Powell's Memorial is just up there. I visited that a couple of times, but we're mid-October now, so we'll soon be into remembrance season, if you like. Look, pheasant number 4 and his missus. Yeah, so I must, weather permitting, I must pay that place another visit, pay my respects to the Leeds Powells, the fallen, those who fought and in many cases gave their lives to preserve this country's freedoms and values. My word, at the risk of being called miserable again, those few that are now left still living that fought in the Second World War must be thinking, what the hell was it all for? I'm no real fan of Elon Musk, as I think I might have mentioned before, but on two fronts I'll give him absolute credit. Old Musky boy. That latest rocket launch with the deployment of those trial dummy satellites and the return to Earth into the sea of both the rocket booster and the main Starship, as they call it. Very, very impressive indeed. Amazing technology. But the other was I dropped on, I don't know why it came up in my feed, but I dropped on a video of his basically warning the American people about the dangers of dare I say it, Delta India Delta, that famous premium motorcycle chain maker, that subject. But in so doing, referencing the situation here in the United Kingdom and the determination, notwithstanding the huge opposition, to implement this idea, whether we like it or not. And it's an excellent video, makes some very, very, very valid points. But the most significant that he made, and it's something I've touched on several times previously, but obviously it carries a lot more weight when it comes out of the mouth of the richest man in the world. But he said, as a matter of history, the exercise of power never reduces, it always increases. And that is demonstrably true. When you bring in restrictions, things subsequently never get easier, they always become more difficult. There is something about power in and of itself as the expression, if you like, of the human condition, which carries with it its own momentum, and it always increases. And so yeah, that's what we'll get. It'll be no big deal on day one, but give it a couple of years, it's only ever going to go in one direction. I've worked with these people all my life, pretty much. And I just know how they think and what they're determined to achieve. But I should leave it at that, shouldn't I? Don't want to annoy the don't want to annoy Al. Don't annoy Mr. Gorhythm. But just watch this space. I might leave a link to that video if it's still up, if it hasn't been taken down, from Uncle Elon. And like I say, I surprised myself by sticking with it for 20 odd minutes and finding that it absolutely resonated. So yeah, anyway, just sort of thoughts for the day, bit of idle rambling, and as promised, the second half of this video will be without my dubious words of dubious wisdom, and will be a nice scenic ride for you to enjoy. So I will leave you with that, and wish you until the next time safe riding, be kind in your heart, and I'll see thee. Woohoo!